Hi, I'm Dr. Bhargav Rao from Pathofast Lab, Pune. If you have had a pregnancy blood test or a pregnancy urine test which came out as positive, and then you went in for a scan, but the scan does not show any pregnancy, you might be very confused. I'm going to explain to you the reasons for this in today's video. The first thing that you have to note is that this may even be a completely harmless situation, which I'll come to very soon. You don't need to panic, you don't need to worry. There are perfectly normal explanations because of why this could have happened. And just because you've had a pregnancy test which is positive and your ultrasound is negative doesn't mean that either of them are wrong. It could all be just because of timing. The first and most simple explanation for this is that you have done the scan too early. What you need to remember is that the pregnancy blood test is positive around 2 to 3 weeks after conception, but this ultrasound scan can only show a pregnancy around 5 to 6 weeks. The reason for this difference is because the ultrasound scan relies on direct observation of the growing embryo. In the initial stages, the embryo is so small that it is microscopic and cannot be seen on the scan. So if you test in this 2-week gap between the time when the pregnancy is visible on the ultrasound scan, you're going to have this situation where the blood test is positive but the scan doesn't show anything. So what should you do? Well, the simple answer is just repeat the scan after at least 2 to 3 weeks. That's the best way to make sure that one of the two is probably wrong or either both of them are right. You may find that after 2 weeks you are showing a pregnancy on the scan itself, and that will be the end of it for you, so that you don't need to worry anymore. The second possibility is that you had a false positive blood test for pregnancy. Now, blood tests for pregnancies, even though they are very accurate and they are done in labs on the latest technology, suffer from situations where they can be false positive. Some of the situations where this may happen is when you have a rare type of a cancer which develops inside the pregnancy. This can cause a high level of the Beta-HCG hormone in the blood test, but you're not actually pregnant. Second is certain medicines can also cause this, which you have actually taken to help yourself become pregnant. Third is autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, and certain types of antibodies in your blood can react with the chemicals in the pregnancy blood test and can give a false positive pregnancy blood test. So you have to first rule out the fact that your pregnancy test is really positive. And how can you do this? You should go to another lab and get your blood test done by another technique which is not the same as the first technique. You should know that there are different machines in the market, there are different labs, each of them uses a different technology, and if your first test was done by a certain technology, you just need to look at the principle of measurement in your first test report. When you go to another lab, ask them whether they do the test by the same technology or the same principle. If they don't do it by the same technology, it's definitely a good idea to do it there, because you can get it done by two different technologies or principles. If both of them are positive, you can be certain that you are actually positive for the pregnancy. If one is positive and one is negative, then you know that the first one was a false positive and you don't need to worry further. That matches with what your scan is showing. So what should be your next steps? First, consult an obstetrician or a gynecologist to make sure that there is no emergency situation that needs urgent attention. Number 2, definitely get your pregnancy blood test repeated from another lab that is using a different principle or technology. Number 3, get your ultrasound scan repeated after at least 2 to 3 weeks to make sure that the first ultrasound scan was not done too early. These are enough approaches to look at the situation. Don't worry, don't panic. Most of the times it's just because of this timing disparity, but make sure that you're not missing any serious situation.